What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ Buck back with you. Buck, what is going on, man? You seem to be a little bit happy today.
Come on, DJ. I'm trying to get the thing off. I didn't have a chance to put on my Dodgers sweatshirt in my hat, but I'm trying to get the confetti off after celebrating the Dodgers win last night. And it's fun because, we normally do this after championship things. Like we begin to talk about teams and team building and things that we might have learned along the way and watching the team win one. So it's going to be fun to maybe have a little chat sometime about the Dodgers and how they put it together.
We can do it now. Let's do it now because we'll get to we have a game of the week. We'll hit that a little bit later. But I carved out the time here, even as someone who is a fan of a bitter rival, a Padre team that really gave the Dodgers a run for it. They're lost in 5 games in the divisional round. But look, even as someone who roots against the Dodgers, admittedly, I have a ton of respect for how they've built their organization and the consistency that they've had. And this has been a long run since Friedman got there from the Rays, and Dave Roberts, who we've had on the show before. We might even post some of that conversation. Who's been great. But I was struck as someone who follows baseball closely and watches a lot of that team, that even though the money they spent in the offseason and the stars and Ohtani and Yamamoto and all that, Buck, there's a reason why they had been so good but haven't been able to finish the last few years. I felt like you love the word grit and you mention it all the time, but I felt like this Dodger team down 2-1 in a 5-game series, they had more grit and kind of more toughness. I think if we're going to go to the components of why this team won a World Series, from a team building standpoint, I would give you 2 words. I would say depth, obviously to overcome a lot of the pitching injuries, and then I would say grit. Those would be the 2 words I would give to that Dodger team.
And I think it's important to reference grit the way that I would see it with the Dodgers is what Angela Duckworth described it as. It's passion and perseverance for your long-term goals. And so when you think about the passion, we always talk about this in the scouting business. Man, I want people who love it, not just like it. I want them to be passionate about the game. They eat, sleep, and breathe the game. They do everything that, like it's not, I have to. No, I want to. I want to do the extra stuff. I want to do the BP. I want to take all the ground balls and those things. So they have guys who are passionate. But then the perseverance, DJ, the guys that can bounce back, that have gone through hard things and kind of do it. So think about all the things that Freddie Freeman has had to deal with off the diamond while still being a great player on the diamond. You think about Mookie Betts kind of bouncing around. Hey, you know what? I'm going to play second base or shortstop and go to the outfield and do all these other things. You put yourself out there to be embarrassed, but you're willing to do it because you're tough enough to withstand the criticism and all the things that come with it. And as you start to look at the team and look at some of the hardships that we always talk about, John Gordon's things, hero, highlight, hardship, all of those things. When you have some of that and you have a team full of those guys that have had to endure some tough moments, it gives you a collective grit and hardened shell that you need to have to be able to win the title.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a formula where you had stars. Obviously, the big stars. Freddie Freeman was unbelievable. So you've got kind of your stars. You don't need all of them. If you can get, and that's the same thing in football. If you can get a collection, in football, you need more, obviously. But if you can get a collection of those guys, you don't need all of them to be humming at the same time. But the stars play at that star level, which Freddie Freeman did, kind of carried them a little bit during the World Series. But then it's the next tier of guys, the quote unquote glue guys, like Tommy Edman was the most valuable player in the NLCS. You have Kike Hernandez, some of those guys. I think from a football standpoint, if we're going to try and do that on a football podcast, I would say, hey, we need our blue players, and however many of those you think you need to win, 7, 8 of those blue chip players, and then we've got to have other guys who can. They're going to have their moments, they're going to have their games. Whether that's a defensive tackle who gets you 2 or 3 tackles for loss in a big game, whether that's a slot receiver who, because it's a favorable matchup and they're taking away your stud on the outside, he can make you pay. Like it's those glue guys, I think, too, that if you're going to win a championship, you got to have that depth of your roster.
Yeah, that's an underrated aspect to a championship team are the glue guys, the guys that are kind of behind, not even necessarily behind the scenes, but the guys that are your role players who are not the stars, but you can count on them to be key contributors when their numbers are called. And it might be a backup player who has to go in and be a utility man and fill in the pinch. It may be someone who comes in to run bases, pinch hit, whatever it is, lay down a sacrifice bunt. It's really about that. And DJ, it's funny because I think off air we talked about this was not the best Dodgers team that we saw from top to bottom in terms of their talent, but they're the team that wins it. And we've always said this. It's not the best teams that win. It's the teams that are the most connected. And I think you could sense the connectivity throughout the team, how they were really bonded in those things. People are talking about culture and those things, but really the right culture will create the means to have a connected team that allows you to win at the highest level.
The other point I would make is, there's teams that get crushed for not finishing it, right? The Dodgers, and they won a World Series in 2020, but the teams that get in the tournament every year, you're not going to win every year, but man, you give yourself a chance, like just getting in there every single year. I know I was thinking of a team like the Niners.
Yeah.
Obviously the Dodgers won one in 2020. The Niners haven't won one. You got to go back further. But this iteration of the 49ers has been knocking on the door every single year. And eventually it's like, hey, we keep doing this. Eventually we're going to get the break that we need. We're going to have, things are going to go our way, but like, you can't label teams say, oh, well, they just can't finish it. Like, no. There's something to be said for getting in the tournament and giving yourself an opportunity year after year after year.
So it's the old Atlanta Braves philosophy or phenomenon. The Braves won however many division titles they won way back, like
12 in a row or something crazy like that.
And they were always in the conversation. Only won one World Series, but DJ, to me, I think as a team builder, that's kind of what you want. You just always want to be in the conversation. You always want to be in the conversation, knowing that you are eventually going to knock it down. And if you fall short in the semis or the divisional round or the championship round, it doesn't crush you because you're like, hey, you know what? We're going to be right back. And you're always going to have to talk about us. And everyone is okay with that. And I will say this, for teams to be able to do it, there must be a level of stability and consistency to do it. When all of the conversation was about Dave Roberts and how they need to move on, he can't get them over the top despite winning however many division titles they've won. The Dodgers stayed the course. And sometimes I believe in pro sports, teams have to just stay the course. You can't just change for the sake of changing because you have a down year. It is about the long-term plan, division, and making sure that you put it together.
I would throw another team in there, the Bills, like this Josh Allen version of the Bills. And you think about like the Niners with the stability coach, general manager. Think about the Bills, stability coach, general manager.
Yes.
Josh Allen obviously gives them the star power. The Niners have had a bunch of stars on their team, but those are two teams that, hey, they're consistently there each and every year. They just gotta knock down the door.
And here's the thing about the Buffalo Bills, because I believe I need to have this conversation about the Bills because there are people who feel like I've been banned from Bills Mafia, given my affiliation with the Bills as a player once. But I will say this, didn't think the Bills were going to be a formidable team this year because I felt like, man, there was a lot to lose. But DJ, when you look at the Bills and you look at the way they are crushing teams, when you look at their wins, they are absolutely crushing teams. If they continue the trend where they're improving like they're improving on the field, they may emerge as the biggest threat to the Kansas City Chiefs in terms of being able to thwart the three-peat, because this team is trending in the right direction and it appears that the pieces of the puzzle are in place for them to kind of vie for the title.
And it's no secret they're good up front on the offensive line. They're running the ball well. They can move you at the line of scrimmage, and then defensively, I went back and watched that tape against Seattle. They can rush 4 and they're getting pressure with 4. And they are so good in zone. Like, you got to give them a lot of credit. They see everything and they close in a hurry. Those windows disappear in their zone coverage. So that's a team, again, they're very well coached. They're very tough and they have a star quarterback. That is no matter you have a piece leave here or there, that is going to put you in the tournament every single year.
And so the tough thing is identifying the star quarterback and identifying the traits that the star quarterback must have. And it's not only the physical traits, DJ. And I think on the heels of the conversation that is kind of running rampant in league circles about Anthony Richardson and intangibles and those things, it's really important to acknowledge Josh Allen has the right intangibles. We could talk about like what he couldn't necessarily do when he was on Miami, how woefully inaccurate he was. But you never could talk about the cowboy mentality, the toughness that he displayed in leading that team. And also, DJ, let's talk about the grit that he had to display in playing with what we would call a shorthanded team against other teams. He didn't have all of the luxuries that some had in terms of, oh, I got a first round pick on the outside. I got this and this left tackle and all that. He didn't have it. And sometimes when you play with less at a younger age, it prepares you to play with less in the NFL level, which Josh Allen has been able to do. But also he's been able to play with talented players as well.
Yeah, no, it's interesting to see the kind of connection there. Anyways, I do love baseball. I've got respect for the Dodgers, and congratulations if you're a Dodger fan on winning the World Series. I just want one for my Padres before I go 6 feet under the ground. Just one at some point in time. That would be nice. I would like to have that. But I do love these conversations, and trust me, I looked it up the other day, Buck, because we've been able to go to the winter meetings when they're in San Diego, which has been, I mean, literally of all the stuff that we've done, and we're a football show. It was fun. And the baseball guys love seeing us as much as we love seeing the baseball guys. It's kind of like a crossover.
San Diego, is it San Diego again?
It's in Dallas. It's in Dallas, which I have my daughters in Dallas. So I'm like, I don't know, budget wise, can I convince them? I'm like, I don't think that's going to be in the cards this year. But man, I always enjoy just being around kind of the team building aspect of it. It's a great time. All right, let's take a quick break. We come back. We will hit on the game of the week, which is Lions at Packers right after this.
It's time for the game of the week presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. This week, it's the Lions at the Packers. The spread is -3.5, favor the Lions. The over-under is 48.5. And DJ, there's sometimes where we kind of have to manufacture game of the week. We try and talk about, hey, how are we going to do this? And this game is
yeah.
Now, this is a 5-star game. This is one where we get a chance to see the heavyweights, and we work for teams. And it's always a little special when you know that one of those games is coming up. It changes the energy in the building. Practices are a little more lively. You understand what is at stake. And so for the Lions, who I would say are new to the heavyweight division, the Packers, who've been a perennial heavyweight, this is going to be one that I can't wait to see. And the fact that it is in Green Bay should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, you've got 6-1, 6-2. It is going to be an absolute war, and I'm looking forward to it. To me, if you're looking at it from the Lions side of things, we'll start there. They're going to try and bludgeon the Packers. I mean, that's what they're going to try and do. They're going to come out and try and run the ball and be physical with them and establish the line of scrimmage. I'd be shocked if we see anything other than that early on in this ball game.
Oh, 100%. Like, this is the MO of the Lions. The Lions didn't play great against the Tennessee Titans, but found a way to flex their muscles when they needed. The fact that your quarterback can throw for fewer than 90 yards and you win a game in the National Football League by the margin that they won their last one, it's a really good team. And it's funny because Dan Campbell was the butt of jokes early, but he has now built a team in his image. Tough, hard, very competitive. They get after it, and he's very honest and transparent with it. This game, DJ, the Lions, they're going to force you to deal with their force while defending their finesse. You're going to have to deal with the running game and the offensive line and being able to control the trenches while also running around with the playmakers that they have on the outside. If there's a team that can do it, I'm going to say this, man, the Green Bay Packers are talented. Like, all of the investment that they have made in their defense when it comes to first-round talent, the way that they've developed, they found a defensive coordinator in Jeff Hadley who, look, he only wants his guys to do two things. I want you to give maximum effort. I want you to be obsessed with taking the ball away. They do that. They're all over the field. This is a really competitive matchup, man. This is going to go to the late stages of the game before this one's decided.
I know the Lions have been unbelievable offensively. They scored 24 offensive touchdowns their last 5 games and just 20 incompletions. That makes them the first team with more offensive TDs than completions in a 5-game span since 1950. So that's from the Next Gen Stats nuggets here. So that tells you how hot they are. Now, the fascinating thing, the other nugget I pulled from the Next Gen stuff, the Packers have blitzed the third lowest rate, 18.5%, but they've generated pressure on 51.8% of their blitzes this season, the 4th highest rate in the NFL. So they've got a mix of, they can pick their spots of when they want to do it. But I think, I think if we're just going to come out here and chuck it, if we're Detroit, I think you're playing right into the hands of the Packers. Even I know how well the Lions have thrown the football, but to me, that's why I think this is going to be a rock fight. I think they're going to come out there and try and make it a street fight.
It has to be a street fight because you want to be balanced. You want to make the Packers have to defend everything. You want to make them have to defend the running game, and so you can throw on those early downs against run-heavy defense. If you allow the Green Bay Packers to dictate the terms, to stop you on early downs, and then you got to throw it into what I call their junk, the exotic pre-snap disguises where it looks like they're bringing more, but they're still playing max coverage behind it, it becomes problematic for the quarterback. This is a team that is an excellent zone team, great with their eyes. Their eyes take them to the ball. You have to be very careful with the ball if you're Jared Goff. I think the interesting thing is going to be on the other side. Looking at this Packers offense, potentially with Malik Willis in the starting lineup as opposed to Jordan Love. And we all love what Jordan Love was beginning to do with this offense. Malik Willis is a different animal, though.
Yeah, what do you expect from Willis in this game?
Well, I'm going to say this, man. Matt LaFleur has made Malik Willis something that I didn't know if he could be, and that is a starting caliber quarterback. When you watch Malik Willis, DJ, it is all the projection that you wanted to have in his report, but you didn't know if you confidently could get it out of him as a pro. They do a really good job of utilizing his legs and athleticism. He's become a much better and efficient player in the pocket. They do some things within the pocket to make the game easy for him with play action and swings and bubbles and all those things. But it appears to be the right play caller, play designer, taking a player and putting him in a scheme that really works for him. And the thing that I can't figure out is how can Matt LaFleur operate in two worlds where you have Malik Willis who needs to play one way, Jordan Love needs to play another way, and in a moment's notice, you can flip the switch and make the offense adapt. You got to have enough talent on offense to be able to do it. You also have to have a very creative mind to be able to do it if you're a play caller.
They still take buses to the game, right? From the hotel to the stadium. Yeah. The Detroit Lions, when they step off the bus, they are not going to the locker room, Buck. They are going to blitz. They are going to get off the bus and they are going to blitz. That's what's going to happen in this game. So I'm telling you, if I'm LaFleur, man, I have dedicated so much screen time. And I'm not talking about your kids monitoring their devices. I'm talking about we are running every screen imaginable. I'm running those early. Like, I want to try and scare them out of that. I'm going to try and hit a screen. Maybe it's a tight end screen. Be creative. But, hey, I know they're going to blitz Malik Willis. So I'm gonna try and hit him with a screen early and often in this game.
Yeah, like the screen game is going to be something that you have to thwart it. Also, if you have Malik Willis in the game, you got to move the pocket. You have to keep them guessing as far as where they can bring the pressure, where the launch point is going to be. But I know this about Aaron Glenn. Don't matter. I'm bringing him anyway. You can move him around. You can screen him or whatever. We are going to play. And this is just when we're in the chat. We're talking about Malik Willis. Jordan Love says he has a realistic shot to play. I'm going to say this about Jordan Love. If he's gimpy on that groin, if he's
they're coming after him too.
You better tape it up because they're coming after you. Like, sometimes you may want to protect the player against himself. I understand the magnitude of this game, but you better be careful if you're Jordan Love going against this ferocious Lions defense that is going to heat up the pressure from everywhere.
Yeah, Packers with the most takeaways in the NFL. The Lions throwing it as well as anybody efficiently. Again, that's why my prediction in this game, I think it's going to be a competitive game, but I don't think this is a high-flying aerial assault game. I think this is going to be a rough and rugged NFC North contest where the more physical team at the line of scrimmage is going to win. And they're both good at the line of scrimmage. That's what makes it so fun.
Yeah, it makes it fun because they both are really good at the line of scrimmage. It's going to be a very competitive game. Can't wait to see what it looks like on Sunday. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code MTS. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code MTS. The crown is yours.
Oh, there you have it. A fun one today. Get a chance to do a little crossover there, baseball, football stuff, as well as look at what should be an incredible matchup between the Lions and the Packers. Looking forward to a great football weekend. We've got some great college games, great NFL slate as well. We'll be back on Monday to break it all down. Actually, we got another show coming up tomorrow. We have Chad Alexander coming on tomorrow, our buddy from the Chargers, their assistant general manager. He's going to join us for a fun conversation. So be on the lookout for that. That's going to do it for us. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time right here on Move the Sticks.